Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jenny Geddes, the CEO of Workplace Giving Australia, and it's my absolute pleasure to be your host today. I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet today. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and also acknowledge any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. Last December, we announced that we would be merging with Good to Give, and today we are delighted to welcome you to our first joint webinar. And we've called it, very unsubtly, Get Giving. And we're going to be hearing today great insights from industry champions. We have 400 guests joining us from all across Australia. And on behalf of the Good to Give and WGA teams, thank you for spending an hour today with us to think about workplace giving. Last year, when we held this webinar, I said that I thought that there had never been a more important time for workplace giving. But I'm going to retract that, as this year, I think, with the continuing upset with COVID, the shocking East Coast floods that are still going on, and we've just heard that there's another death today in Toowoomba, which is just devastating, continuing drought in parts of the country, and of course the devastating war in Ukraine. We really believe that now there has never been a more important time for workplace giving. Also, we've reflected on the really important report that Philanthropy Australia has recently released, which is called A Blueprint to Structured Giving. And they've shared in that report that the proportion of Australians who have been giving has been consistently trending down, a trend that has continued for 15 years. The report also confirmed that attitudes towards giving are really built quite early on in people's lives, and they can be very difficult to change once those attitudes are formed. So workplace giving can really play a critical part in arresting that decline. When times are so dire, we can feel very helpless. However, through workplace giving, we can all make a really enormous difference. And I know that's why we're all here today. We're all interested in how we can make a difference. So some housekeeping before we start with our presenters. The presentation is being recorded and we'll be sharing the recording with the network. You can see that on the webinar there's a chat function, and we really encourage you to send through your questions and we'll direct those questions to the presenters at the end of their segment. And it is now my absolute pleasure to introduce you to four amazing organisations. Our first speaker will be Tahnee, an associate at Greenhill Australia, a member of the Community Impact team at Greenhill. Greenhill was a winner in the Workplace Giving Excellence Awards in the Best Overall Program for an SME, small to medium enterprise. What's absolutely amazing at Greenhill is they have 100% of the team involved and an average donation amount that's 3 times the national average. We'll then hear from Margo, Dewar, the Chief People Officer at Heritage Bank. Heritage Bank was a winner in the Best Launch Refresh category of the awards. And in 2021, the Heritage Bank team underwent a complete refresh of their workplace giving program and a whole host of activities that Margo will share, including an incredibly generous period of triple matching. After Margo, highly valued Good to Give client Toyota Australia will share its story. Toyota implemented its workplace giving program in 2013 and since then has contributed over $500,000 to charities across Australia. In addition to workplace giving, Toyota runs a really intensive grant program, including employee-nominated grants, to further support the communities in which they operate. Presenting today from Toyota will be Erin, Environment and Community Co-ordinator. Our last, but certainly not least, presenter of the day will be Marla, Head of Partnerships at United Way Australia. United Way Australia and Costco were winners in the awards in the Most Innovative Charity Employer Partnership category. Together, they worked to turbocharge Costco's workplace giving program via an incredibly innovative Costco Fest short film program, which in 1 year alone helped Costco to raise $240,000 for its charity partners. After our presenters, we'll touch very briefly on the materials that'll be available to help you do your own Workplace Giving Month activity. So without any further ado, it is my pleasure to hand over to Tahnee.
Thanks, Jenny. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to join today to share some perspectives on what we think has made Greenhill Australia's Workplace Giving program successful, and hope that this might provide listeners today with some useful takeaways. We'll just move on to the next slide. As context, Greenhill Australia is a real across Sydney and Melbourne. We're part of a global firm headquartered in New York, which provides advisory services to corporations. Given the small footprint, we're a tight-knit team and culture is very important. We consider workplace giving to be a core component of this team culture. Personally, upon joining the firm just under a year ago, learning about the firm's program greatly impressed me, not only because it speaks to the team's prioritisation of charitable giving, but also how the program is structured. Having worked across multiple financial institutions in Sydney over the past 6 years, this is the first time that I've been given the opportunity to be part of a regular workplace giving program, having previously contributed one-off donations to charities or completed in-person volunteering. So I'll touch on the key elements that I believe make Greenhill's program successful. Firstly, new join. Greenhill's senior managers are central to the firm's efforts by emphasising the importance of the program to the broader team. Our 100% participation rate is something that we're proud of, and we hope to continue well into the future. Secondly, flexibility. To ensure wholesome participation in the program, Greenhill has set flexible parameters to support any and all giving goals. Each employee is able to donate to the firm's default charity, Kljaic, or choose any other deductible gift recipient. I believe, and conversations with my colleagues also reinforce, that the ability to choose a cause important to you also contributes to the success of the program. We're lucky enough to have an administrative team who organises signing up to the charities to make the process seamless for employees. Each employee is also able to specify the amount that they would like to contribute as to the typical contribution amount for different levels. And there's no pressure to contribute a certain amount. Thirdly, dollar for dollar donation matching. Greenhill matches team contributions, which reiterates the firm's commitment to workplace giving. We'll just move on to the next slide. So, how did Greenhill get here? In June 2016, senior leadership in Australia set out to improve the company's program, introducing an opt-out strategy. This is where employees are automatically signed up to donate to Greenhill's company charity, Kljaic, unless they confidentially opt out or choose an alternative charity. This initiative brought Greenhill's workplace giving to the front of mind for employees and had an immediate impact, with participation rising from 37% to 93% in the following year. And for the last 4 financial years, Greenhill Australia's participation rate has remained at 100%. Just move on to the next slide. In terms of implementation, when a new joiner commences with the team, the program is communicated verbally in a one-on-one context, which gives the new joiner an opportunity to ask questions about the program. The key items highlighted are the importance of the program to the team's culture, the 100% participation rate, and the flexibility of the program. New joiners also receive a flyer summarising the program with key Q&A. And we'll just move on to the next slide. And this Greenhill Australia supports. And that concludes the portion of the presentation. I see we've just got a couple of questions in the chat that have popped up.
Yes, we do, Tahnee. Thank you. That was a great presentation. Your 100% participation is phenomenal, and it has gone on for so many years. It's absolutely to be commended. So really understand why the judges decided to award you an award in the SME category. And I think it's just incredibly powerful to see how much a small team can actually do for its charity partners. So congratulations. A couple of questions. So what percentage support Red Kite versus choosing their own charity?
I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, but you can see from the diversity of the charities shown on the prior slide that there is quite a range of charities that are supported. So I imagine that would be a pretty even mix of Red Kite. I believe 40% of this goes to Red Kite.
Fantastic. And do you know, Tahnee, how Red Kite was chosen as your charity of choice?
Yeah, so I believe that this is a charity that was found to be important to the team when this program was initially established. So, and that relationship has continued, and the firm tries to continue supporting Red Kite in various ways other than the payroll donation initiative.
Fantastic. And there's quite a few questions around opt-out, and we know opt-out is a total game changer for workplace giving programs. So a couple of questions around that topic. Was there any pushback, or have you heard of any people saying that they really don't like this strategy?
So I spoke to the team to get their perspective on how the program was received initially. The team was concerned that there might be some pushback, given, you know, some people don't like being told what to do, but the team focused on having the one-on-one chats with employees to understand any concerns that they have about the program. And obviously, you know, once you communicate how important the cause is to, you know, the firm's culture, you know, they were able to get the team on board, which is clear through the team's increasing participation rate over the following year and the year after. And in terms of now, I mean, based on speaking with my colleagues, everyone thinks it's a great initiative, and the fact that the firm's willing to, you know, organise all of the administration involved with this is so great. And yeah, I'm happy to be supporting this initiative.
Excellent. And just an associated question. What is the default donation amount when you join the firm?
I believe that for a junior offering, a junior joining the team, they suggest an amount of $50. But as I said, you know, there's no pressure to contribute a certain amount. And I think employees also appreciate, you know, suggestions as to the donation amount.
Yeah, fantastic, Tahnee. And a question around your matching policy. Is there a cap on your matching policy?
I believe it's $100,000.
Is that obviously that's for the company?
Oh, no. What's that, sorry?
Obviously that's for the company.
Yeah.
That would be a very generous matching donation amount if it was per employee.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and just looking at some of the other questions, you may not know this, Tahnee, but Bronwyn from Lifeline has asked, do you know what the percentage of participation was before you went to the opt-out model?
Well, I believe it was around 37% prior to the initiative.
Okay, yeah, so you can really obviously see how it makes such a massive difference. Excellent. One other question was, do you allow people to, I think that would mean donate overseas or to overseas charities, or do they have to be registered in Australia?
I believe they have to be registered in Australia as a deductible gift recipient.
Excellent. Okay, well, fantastic, Tahnee. There may be some other questions coming through and we'll have those answered after the session, but thank you so much. We might just get you to stay on, and if there are questions at the end, get you to answer those as well.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Margo, over to you.
Thank you. Just give me one tick. There we go. All right. So look, thank you so much for the opportunity to attend and present today on behalf of Heritage Bank. I would also like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners on the land in which we meet and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. And I do need to, in full disclosure, acknowledge the opening comments and clarify that the 2021 awards, Heritage Bank received bronze. I'd love to be the gold medal recipient, but that honour went to McKinsey & Co. So I just did want to clarify that at the start of the session. So a bit about Heritage. Who are we? So Heritage Bank is a mutual owned bank. We're a customer owned bank. We have a proud history going back to 1875 of supporting the communities in which we operate. We're passionate about putting our members first and supporting the communities in which we operate. We have over 800 staff and 59 local-based branches. So supporting the community is part of our DNA. And in a recent staff survey that we completed around employee engagement and what attracts people to work for us here at Heritage Bank, connection to purpose and connection to community came through as shining attributes as to why people want to work with us here at Heritage. So fostering this connection and this alignment to our values was really what drove the establishment of the Heritage Bank Charitable Foundation. The foundation is a special vehicle that can really harness the collective strength of Heritage Bank, our staff and our members to support vulnerable Australians. Our charitable foundation was launched in 2019, but it didn't make the first round of community grants until October 2020. And that's important because it plays into our workplace giving program. So we launched a workplace giving program in 2019, July 2019. But participation was minimal for those first 20 months of the program in how the program supported the charitable foundation. So we really determined at that point to help it achieve the goals that we had, we needed a refresh for our workplace giving program. So we've got a number of considerations here on the slide that spoke to what we thought about when we planned the refresh of our workplace giving program. And that was around researching other leading programs in industry and taking those key success factors, considering when we were to launch the program, and also making sure that we had senior executive support. The result of our refresh design was a workplace giving program called Our Shout. And I'll just get, I think it's Sam, to kindly play a short video, which is a snippet of our workplace giving program to give you an idea what it's all about. Over to you, Sam.
Hi, I'm Paul Olds, the Executive Officer of the Heritage Bank Charitable Foundation. I'm really excited to be here today with Peter and Margo to launch Heritage Bank Workplace Giving Week. Workplace giving is when you make regular tax deductions via payroll to an eligible charity such as the Charitable Foundation. There are lots of benefits to workplace giving, including it's an extremely cost-effective way for the foundation to fundraise. This means we can give more to those people who need it. You receive your tax deduction immediately, so you don't have to wait till the end of the year till you submit your tax return. It's simple. There's no need to keep tax receipts, or if you're like me, worry about losing them. You're in total control and you can change or stop your donations at any time. Plus, you become part of something bigger, a much bigger collective with the ability to achieve something really special. What I'm going to do now is hand over to Margo to talk more about workplace giving in a bit more detail.
Thanks. So that was our CEO of the Charitable Foundation, Paul Olds. And I think having that connection and that communication into our organisation really did help the program when we refreshed it and launched it. So key design elements and components of our refreshed program are detailed here on the slide, and went through education, emotive, making sure we were logical in how we went about doing it, short-term call to action, but long-term systems, and making sure it was simple. The program, as I said, was called Our Shout, and that was perfect language for our organisation. It fits with our culture and our people-first approach. When someone needs a hand up, letting them know it's your shout can have a profound impact on their wellbeing and engagement. We focused on how small, regular donations can add up to make a significant difference, and this was symbolised by the coffee cup we used in our logo that you would have seen at the start of the video. The Our Shout Workplace Giving Week was when we launched the program, which was the 22nd to the 26th of March in 2021. We also included a number of initiatives in our refresh that I thought I'd share with you today for those that are thinking about how to reinvigorate or refresh their program. We showcased our charity partners to really call out what certain levels of donation could mean to direct impact in the communities in which those charity partners worked with. We launched the program with the slogan, a Mars a pay helps you change someone's day. Now, that's a bit cheesy, but it really did work, and it really did speak to the simplicity of the program and that how small regular donations can have a profound impact. We launched a meet and eat series, which is a session we ran for 30 minutes over Zoom. And what we did here was we enabled our charity partners to showcase the great work they do and engage in direct conversation with our employee base. These sessions were recorded, so team members who weren't able to attend them could view them at a later date. And we personalised workplace giving to make an Our Shout Workplace Giving grant. So this means that our employees, our workplace givers, had a direct say on how the Charitable Foundation administered the funds that were raised through workplace giving into charity partners to support their local communities. And finally, as alluded to earlier, we had the real kicker, which was that Heritage Bank would be tripling staff donations throughout the first 3 months of launching and refreshed the program. So what did this achieve? Our outcomes. In the first 3 months following the launch, our participation in workplace giving increased by 55%. Our donations from staff totaled $8,118, and with the Heritage Bank matching, it brought it to $27,959. And we were delighted with this impact that we got, noting that we'd sort of had a bit of a slow uptake initially with workplace giving. In hindsight, lessons learned and some tips to share with those considering a refresh today. Being a new program, educating on workplace giving was key. Supporting community was not a new concept for Heritage Bank or our staff members, and we actually had to fight for some airspace in terms of getting our employees to focus on the benefits of workplace giving. We overcame this challenge by utilising the great collateral that was available at the time through Workplace Giving about Australia and sharing that with our team. And once our team were better able to understand the concept and really buy into that concept of a Mars, a pay, helps you change someone's day, we were able to get cut through and increase our participation in the program. The program also had great support from our senior executive team, who are all workplace givers, and our CEO, Peter Locke, was really actively involved in the program launch. And finally, tripling the staff donations always helped give it a real impact as well on the bottom line. What we would do differently, we put a lot of focus and energy into Workplace Giving Week and the launch of those first 3 months of the program. So I would suggest giving some more thought and consideration to an always-on approach and engaging team members through turnover and attrition as well as a factor that would really help the program continue on. and peer-to-peer recognition and engagement. It's finding a balance, I think, whilst having senior leadership and executive presence and support of the program is really important, that strong tone from the top. Equally, showcasing your teammates as workplace givers can help make it more relatable across a larger organisation. So in closing, the Our Shout program was a great opportunity for Heritage Bank staff to collectively contribute to a great cause and really help bring our charitable foundation to life and connect, I think, into the program with the charitable foundation. It's revitalised it in our organisation, and our shout is part of our language now within our culture. Thank you for creating the opportunity today for me to share the story on behalf of my colleagues at Heritage Bank, and I hope you found some insights in that session useful for those considering a refresh. Thanks.
Thanks, Margo. That was a fantastic presentation, and just a couple of questions. So could you just expand on what you mean by always on? Just help draw that out for us.
Yeah, sure. So apologies if that is a bit of an in-house term. I guess I'm talking about a campaign and campaign management. So we really approached the launch of Our Shout as a campaign. We were quite intense. We had a lot of refresher comms. It was scheduled. It was diarised over that 3-month period. And always on is just making sure we've got that follow-up and that continual activity throughout a calendar year, making sure that there's touch points to look into, as I mentioned, attrition. So when people join an organisation, how are we capturing them through induction and speaking to them at the 6-month point, at the 1-year point of service. So being always on in terms of the program.
Fantastic. And just a couple of questions around the similar sort of topic. So how frequently do you look at the beneficiaries of your program, and how often do you add new charity partners?
Yeah, great question. So we run a grant round process, I guess, and this is probably where our program is a little unique to some of the presenters today and probably some of the participants in the call that have a range of diverse charitable partners. We channel our workplace giving program into the charitable foundation. That's really because of the charitable foundation being quite new, and we're wanting to really build that connection between our brand and our culture and the charitable foundation. That doesn't mean, though, that the charitable foundation doesn't have a lot of opportunity to support the communities in which we operate. So we run grant funding rounds throughout the year, and to select people who can participate in those grant funding rounds, we actually have a subcommittee that's made up of employees from across our footprint. So we're from Western Sydney, branches in Western Sydney through to Bundaberg, and we try to make sure that those charitable foundation partners are scattered across our footprint, and our team members actually assess those applications and make recommendations through to the charitable foundation board to select those recipients that are issued through funding.
Fantastic. And just another question, do you find that employees are set and forget with their donations, or how can you encourage them to increase their donation amount?
Yeah, great question. I think we're all a bit set and forget when we set things up to automatic deduction, aren't we? Be it bills or be it things like workplace giving. And for us, I think the focus isn't so much around increasing those people who are donating, but it's increasing participation in the program. So we're delighted, and we'll take $1 through to $50 paid, which I think I heard Tahnee say something. So whatever people are comfortable to contribute, we're happy with that. It's not so much about trying to get more from participants, but increasing the percentage of our employee population that are participating in the programs where our focus is.
Yeah, fantastic. It's the collective impact that makes such a difference.
Yeah, thank you.
And just another question was, are the grants made by the foundation to employees or members of the general public?
I'm not quite sure I understand that question, sorry. So we don't provide grants to employees, if that was the question. They go through to charitable foundation. So organisations like Bravehearts, they've got a strong national brand. I'm sure most people on this call will be familiar with Bravehearts. So they'd be one of our charitable foundation partners that we participate with. Another organisation like the Last Cancer Support. So they've got to be a registered charity operating within our footprint. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, it definitely does. And just a vote of confidence in your Amasa pay can help someone's day. I love it.
Thank you very much.
That was from David. Fran said, thank you. That answers her question.
Beautiful.
So thank you. And if we have time at the end, as some of the participants on the webinar, if you have further questions, please send them through because we can circle back around them. But thank you very much. Fantastic presentation. And it's now time to hand over to Erin.
Great. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So I lead a lot of the employee engagement activities at Toyota, such as volunteering, employee grants, and of course our Match Workplace Giving program. So today I'll just give you a brief overview of Toyota's social contribution strategy and a deep dive into our Match Giving program, as well as a few of the operational issues that we've encountered over the years. Next slide. Great. So at Toyota, we have 1,400 employees, including our warehouse employees. So out of those 1,400 employees, we have 62 participating in our matched workplace giving program via the Good to Give platform. So that's 4.4% of our current workforce. Success factors to our program is that it comes from our employees. We believe that the philanthropy journey starts with the charities that you have a passion for. So it's important for us, for our program to also be open choice. Our program is also opt-in as it speaks more to our culture. We are a bit more conservative, so we try not to administer what employees donate to and try and make it very self-motivated, self-driven. We also match our donations dollar for dollar and is capped at $1,000 per employee per year. And it's also managed by myself, but it's a very small portion within my role. So we do not have a dedicated resource to match workplace giving. Moving on to highlights. Since the launch in 2013, our participation has averaged between 50 and 100 employees, which has resulted in us raising over $500,000 in donations solely through match workplace giving. We've seen it as an increase in collaboration opportunities through other areas of the business and partnering more with marketing and HR campaigns, as well as there's been an increase around disaster relief appeals and people wanting to give back and participate through that avenue. Next slide. Okay, so before I get into more detail about our Match Workplace Giving program, it's valuable to understand the framework we work within and the context our social contribution applies to. We are obligated to closely align with our Japan parent company, Toyota Motor Corporation. Therefore, the global Toyota giving areas are already predetermined. So that's environment, traffic safety, education, local community, and employee initiated. In addition to global priority areas, we also have our local prioritised areas. We're committed to working towards the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and have identified priority SDGs we think we can provide a maximum impact towards Australia's society. We investigated the biggest needs within Australia against Toyota's expertise and capabilities, which led us to identify 5 key priority SDGs. Those being SDG 7, affordable and clean energy, SDG 12, responsible consumption and production, SDG 11, sustainable cities and communities, SDG 9, industry, innovation, infrastructure, and lastly, SDG 13, climate action. So you can see this is why we have open choice to represent our employee voice, because we have to focus on these sort of more strategic causes. Next slide, please. Okay, I'll briefly run through this slide just for the sake of time, but this kind of just shows our context in which our priority areas and social contribution activities are applied to. So starting from 2021, Toyota Australia has committed 1% pre-tax profit to contribute to social impact activities. So actually for 2021, that was around $3.56 million that we're contributing to social impact. We also work towards the good, better and best philosophy to outline our strategy to achieve our sustainability target of being the #1 company in Australia contributing to carbon neutrality and mobility by 2030. As you can see, Match Workplace Giving is sitting in our good section, along with other sort of employee-driven activities, volunteering, employee grants. So you can also see that overall matching is quite a small activity within our much larger giving portfolio. In Better, we have our Toyota Community Trust, which provides funding towards addressing barriers within STEM education in Melbourne's West, road safety education, and partnerships with Indigenous-based groups to combat local issues. In Best, this is where we'd like to see 50% of our focus in the future. This will consist of, long-term research projects and pilots in mobility, and carbon neutrality to solve those problems for the priority SDGs that I just mentioned earlier. Okay, so next slide, thank you. So finally, a bit of background about our Match Workplace Giving program. It was established in 2012 by our Employee Champions Committee to represent the employee voice. The committee consists of 12 employees from various backgrounds of the business, who met 4 times a year to propose new employee-driven activities to our executive board for endorsement. The group researched 2 giving platforms and landed on Good to Give just because it had that element of open choice that really speaks to our culture. From that, the executive board endorsed a $40,000 annual investment in the program. Next slide, please. Okay. So we had a small program launch and decided not to be overtly pushing our program on employees, mostly because we didn't know how it would be received. So we just wanted to test the waters with it. Since the launch, our ongoing promotional approach has been slow and steady with moderate promotion. Simplicity is our approach to making this an effective program to counter our limited resources and focus on future direction. Our manufacturing plant closed in 2017, which also reduced our workforce from 5,000 employees to 1,000 employees. So we naturally saw a big dip in participation levels there as well. And we've always found that, like your warehouse employees tend to be more connected to grassroots communities and their local community. So, and give more to charities on average. So we've been slowly building up that participation again. With our new workforce demographic, which seem to be, a lot more passionate about larger scale issues, climate action, appeals around disaster relief. So we've been working with them a lot more. We've been doing that through partnering with marketing and HR, which has been valuable to boost our participation through campaigns like Movember, Paralympics Australia, and disaster appeals. Our other touch points with employees are through inductions. And look, it's not always glamorous, but washroom posters seem to be really effective for us. They just seem to get people, so we rely on them heavily for promotion. Employee bulletins with seasonal campaigns, around tax time or Christmas themed. So we'll pinpoint when we go out to the business with them. Collaboration partnerships campaign, that's just what I mentioned earlier about with marketing and HR in November. And also subtle sort of promotion through, if I'm going out and I'm speaking to employees about volunteering, I'll also do a little small shout out about Match Workplace Giving as another way to engage with the community, just to keep it in the forefront of people's minds where possible. Next slide, please. Okay, so in hindsight, we think what works well for us is that the program is driven from the ground up by employees. So they truly are represented in our workplace and part of our future direction and journey. The fact that it is open choice means we not only give employees a voice, but we also understand what their passions are. And our future aim would be to hone in on these passion areas and incorporate them into future corporate volunteering events that we definitely know our employees would be interested in. Naturally, having a matching program increases our brand reputation as well and helps with our employer of choice status. And you saw earlier where Match Workplace Giving fits into our overall strategy and why it's important for us for it to be light touch and a simplistic program. So one key learning area for us, but very prominent in the rollout of our Match Workplace Giving program, is that we didn't secure buy-in from impacted departments that would need to incorporate processes into their workload to ensure a streamlined program. So, for example, we didn't consult with payroll regarding the new program and how it would work, which resulted in a very clunky process, which often missed donations, or it meant we had a massive backlog of unprocessed donation batches. It was a very delicate internal issue that we've struggled with for over several years now. And it's meant we've had to compromise on a process that isn't 100% streamlined even today. If we had our time over, I think we would have just had that conversation up front with HR, outlined responsibilities and confirmed buy-in before introducing any new program that would impact their processes. Lastly, we do need to dedicate more time into figuring out how we can bring our warehouse employees along for the journey again, and enable them to contribute more to local communities more. With the shift to online, we struggle to engage with them regularly because they don't have company issued electronic devices such as mobile phones and laptops. So we really need to find a way around that as well. Next slide. Okay, so hopefully understanding our framework and how matched workplace giving fits into our strategy, you have an insight into why we run the program the way we do. We certainly are not bragging about our program, but we have consciously tailored it to be a small activity that hums along in the background, particularly because of our resource restraints and our longer term strategy to benefit society more broadly. We do see this as a very significant activity, however, but more of a tool to be able to connect with our employees and have our employees be able to connect with their local communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. That's a great program, and I think everyone on the call would agree you're probably underselling the impact. $500,000 is fantastic.
Yeah, it's massive. Yeah, definitely.
So, congratulations and well done. Some really interesting questions coming through. So the first one is: do you need a minimum number of people to give to one charity? I.e., are the costs of administering one donation to one charity a consideration to your program?
No, it's not. We don't have a minimum. It is simply, we do pay the admin fees, but it's a tool they're used for employee representation. And if that's what the representation shows, then we'll wear that, definitely.
Okay, fantastic. Are any of your Toyota dealerships involved? If not, would you consider expanding the program to include them?
Oh, the dealer relationship is quite tricky, and we are separate. So that would be up to the own dealership's responsibility to take that on. So not something we'd be enforcing on them at the moment to do, or ever, actually.
Okay, fantastic. And how did you measure the effectiveness of the touch points?
We actually do a lot of campaigns throughout the year in different forms, and part of that, we have a Japanese term called Kaizen, and it is a point where we constantly reflect on what we've been doing, and that's a large portion of what Toyota does is reflection. So we actually review a lot of our communication techniques, and we do surveys or pulse surveys and just find out what's the ways that employees are picking up the information we're putting out there. So we can't measure it in terms of KPIs, but we can measure what we think is what's been the most engaging.
Excellent. And there's just a lot of appreciation for your presentation, Erin, and your openness. And people are really enjoying the lessons learnt, as we're all here to learn what others have done. So thank you very much. It was a
no problem at all.
Presentation. I'm sure there'll probably be some questions at the end. There has been a question here, actually. What do you find most helpful in boosting participation in your workplace giving program?
Oh, in workplace giving, it's a hard one. I think it's not a unique problem that a lot of other companies are facing at the moment as well, especially when you're constantly relying on employee bulletins as the only way, or washroom posters to reach employees. I couldn't tell you the miracle technique out there. We're trying everything. We rely a lot. We work a lot with our internal comms department. We're trying to think of ideas to make things more tangible. sometimes that can just be really difficult to do. But yeah, we're a work in progress and we're trying.
Excellent. And I think the last one was similar. What do you think are the biggest barriers for getting more employees participating in the program?
I think everyone has the best intentions, but I do find, if I'm thinking of actually more in terms of volunteering, I find you need to bring it right under the noses of employees for them to do something sometimes. So I think maybe we could be a bit more proactive and trying to get them into the system, but still on that line of not enforcing them into the platform as well, but sort of reaching out a bit more regularly.
Excellent. Thank you, Erin. That's a great presentation. And now it's time for our last presenter. As I said at the beginning, last but certainly not least, delighted to welcome Marla. Thank you, Marla.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Excellent. Great. Hi, everybody. I'm really happy to be here and honored to share my experience. And hopefully you guys will be able to get something out of what we talk about today. So Costco approached us a few years ago. You can move on to the next slide, please. They've got a really strong global relationship with United Way, beginning in the States. And a bit of a full disclosure, you might be able to tell from my accent that I'm not quite Aussie, even though I've been here for 25 years. So what that does mean, though, is that, in North America, there's a really strong culture of workplace giving, and it's almost a lot more expected. So Costco approached us because of that relationship and knowing that United Way would be able to implement in the way of, that North American, approach, which is a bit rah-rah and, and very, forefront. So, we were able to, so as a charity ourselves, we were able to manage their workplace giving campaign. And so what we had to do, though, was to figure out how is it going to work in Australia and what's important. So, the way that I look at it, I think there are three things that are that help make a workplace giving campaign successful. And the first and foremost is executive leadership. So it's really got to come from the top. The executives really need to be committed to it. So as a result, we've had the CEO, he leads the discussions with workplace giving. And I feel that really sets the tone with the staff. And that's really helped us with the success of the program. The second thing that we find really helpful is a champion. And I'll go into that in a little bit more detail, but with Costco, they've got warehouses throughout the country. And you'll see, the ones with the best champions are the ones that have the best results. So, what we tried to do was to give each warehouse leeway to create something bespoke for their teams that their teams would like. And that way they felt that they were contributing and knew what their teams wanted. So that was able to give us a good result. And the third thing is choice. So choosing a charity that speaks to what the people are interested in. So again, just to kind of summarize, the three things that I think are the most important are executive leadership buy-in, champion success, so people who are willing to chip in and make a difference. And then the third thing would be choice. So if we move on to the next slide, we can talk about, how things were different. So, we were very much a face-to-face campaign because that's always, going into each warehouse and being able to meet people and talk to them, we found was great. But then we couldn't do that anymore because of COVID. So we, again, spoke to the staff at Costco and we said, what do you want to do? What do you think that we can come with that your staff would like? And we came up with an idea called Costco Fest, which was individual videos that each warehouse came together to create. So it was a friendly competition and they had to submit a 3-minute video about what giving means to them. And it was amazing what they came up with. You know, when you give people the creativity, they really, I was overwhelmed with how creative they became, how much fun they have. And we've got a video to show you guys the winning video of what they came up with. And then what we did is we had a panel of judges who marked the videos on creativity, uniqueness, and inspiration. So that was fun. And I think we've got a video to share with you.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain and we all have sorrow. But if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. Lean on me. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if I have things that you need to borrow. For no one can feel those of your needs that you won't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. Lean on me. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Just call on me, brother, if you need a hand, 'cause we all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand, 'cause we all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. Lean on me. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Yeah. Oh, 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 oh. Somebody to lean on. Yeah. Somebody to lean on.
As you can see, that was really, really beautiful. And I've seen some questions come through. And I think that the really amazing thing of it is that these were really heartfelt. This wasn't about putting together a fancy video and sending, you know, and spending a lot of money on it. This was really homegrown, which is also really reflective of the Costco, you know, employees. The workplace is, it's, you know, they're not fancy. You know, some of these are hourly employees. So, you know, this was them just being real and them being them. And, you know, this is only one warehouse, but also obviously this was done throughout all of their warehouses. So our goal was to get 30% across all warehouses. And as you can see, and here's what I'm talking about. If you look at that graph, you know, you've got some warehouses at 9.8%. and some at 79.4%. And what do you think the difference is? The difference is the champion, right? How engaged they are. I think 79.4 was a fellow American who was very used to how, you know, campaigns run in America, but she brought that enthusiasm to the warehouse. So also buy-in, again, that executive leadership thing, 60% matching, capped at 100,000. So yeah, moving on to the next one. So the other thing that was really great is that each of the ambassadors, that champion at each warehouse, they were responsible for, coming up with fun things. And again, this isn't fancy. This wasn't a huge budget. And so, they all, some of them had lunchtime, like they would have lollies out. They would have a morning tea, whatever they thought would work for their staff. So again, nothing fancy, but just real engaged messaging. And we did offer them some employment engagement opportunities, maybe not last year because of COVID, but that is something that can be, that the team can also get involved in. And then what we did is the impact was $239,000 raised, including their match, and workplace giving grew to 38%. And again, as you saw, 79% thanks to really, people who are really motivated. We increased workplace giving during the COVID year, which is pretty cool. It was, done throughout a bunch of different charities across Australia. So each state has a different, like a children's hospital that they give to. We thought that it would work better without having hundreds of charities, but just kind of a few that we focused, and we do surveys on their staff to see what they're interested in, what they'd like to bring on board. So that's pretty much it. If I were to summarize again, executive leadership, champions, and choice, I think, are what made this really successful for us. So that's
Thank you, Marla. That was fantastic, and I think we all teared up in the office when we watched the video as well. So, job well done from you and Costco. So there was a question around what did the winner of Costco Fest win?
Yep. That's a great question. I think it was a basket of Costco, like they get, like suppliers are constantly sending samples, and I think they won a big basket of stuff for themselves. Yeah, and the pride, don't underestimate the friendly competition between warehouses. So they also got pride of winning.
Yeah, brilliant. And I think that really sums up a lot of the activity we see happening around these months and June Workplace Giving Month. And of course, it can happen right across the year that fun ideas that are great for the employees to get behind really do make a difference. And they don't have to be really costly activities as well. Mm-hmm. So there was another question, Marla, was how much do you think feedback from your charity partners influence the engagement with staff?
How much of the influence? Look, they, what we do, we ask them to contribute as much as they would like to. So again, they all did prepared videos, and we would show them. Costco's a little bit different, show them, because they all have different hours. We would show them in the break room. So they were, we asked them to put together a 3-minute video that they could show everyone about the impact of the work that we were doing.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Marla. So we'll a fantastic set of organisations. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. There are some more questions coming through, and we will ensure that they're answered after the webinar. So we really just wanted to end by saying, after this webinar, you'll receive the recording of the video, and you'll receive the links to the Workplace Giving Month materials. They're all free. Some great ideas in these kits. We really hope that you do something during a month. It doesn't have to be June, as we said, but we know that on average, organisations that have done a workplace giving activity have increased their participation by, on average, 30%. So it really does make a fantastic difference. So thank you all again for joining us. Please join me again in thanking Tahnee, Margo, Erin and Marla. Great presentations. We hope you have a fantastic lead into June Workplace Giving Month. We wish you every success for your activity, and we hope that everyone considers getting an entry into the Workplace Giving Awards when they open up in August later in the year. The Good to Give and Workplace Giving Australia teams are here to help you. in any way we can, and we really look forward to helping you. Stay safe, everyone, and have a fantastic afternoon.